So, this headline caught my eye the other day. Venezuelan currency slowly getting replaced by Pepe memes. Now, first upon seeing this, I called bullshit. After all, just a week ago, memesters pranked themselves by spreading around a fake news article claiming that Adult Swim had somehow purchased or attempted to purchase a copyright or trademark on Pepe, thereby somehow destroying the alt-right. When I first saw those threads, my only response was, "You what, mate?" But it quickly became evident that that article was in fact a hoax. As such, my immediate reaction was to lump this article in with that earlier Adult Swim article as a poor attempt at trolling. But oh my dear friends, how wrong I was, and how deep this simple article about a seemingly hilarious exchange of rare Pepes led me down a rabbit hole of shit about Venezuela I didn't really want to know. Because knowing it makes me very upset, and I don't like to talk about things that make me upset. But hey, it's socialism. Color me unsurprised that the levels of depravity and injustice involved in a socialist government system would make me feel viscerally ill. I'm not joking here, folks. Researching this at points in time made me so upset I kind of had to take a second to just step away from it for a moment, take a breath, stop myself from being upset. This is the reality of Venezuela that I came to over Pepe memes. But hey, we'll get there, so let's start on, I guess, the high note, or what I would perceive as the high note, because when I started my investigation into this general topic, it was that headline, the one that I just read to you, that made me interested. Of course, as I said at first, I thought it was a joke. How could Venezuelans be trading rare Pepes as a more valuable form of currency than the national currency, the Bolivar? Well, easy, when you're living in a socialist nightmare with nigh immeasurable inflation to the point where people must often carry around backpacks full of cash to purchase simple requisite commodities such as bread, water, and milk. And that is if they are even able or capable of accessing said commodities before the fucking policia snaps it all up right in front of their eyes. But again, we'll get there. The exchange of rare Pepes is a form of cryptocurrency being used by small business owners and independent entrepreneurs in the nation in order to sell their products or services to the outside world through the use of bitcoins and thereby bypassing the exuberant import-export taxation rates and the financial inflation of the Bolivar at a rate of about 700% in 2016, set to reach 1,600% this year and up to almost 3,000% estimated by 2018. As of February of this year, a 100 Bolivar note is worth the equivalent of approximately 2 cents USD. While most businesses have perished, one anonymous Venezuelan owner claimed that 80% of his competition had disappeared over the last couple of years. The use of bitcoins, which is being hidden behind the seemingly innocuous trading of smug frog images, allows not just business owners, but independent content creators and just people in general in the nation to provide for themselves and their families by circumventing import-export regulations and the hyperinflation of the Bolivar. Let me be clear, by the way, things are only worth whatever value you assign to them. As such, these rare Pepes are being exchanged as a cryptocurrency to hide the real financial dealings being done in order to prevent and circumvent Venezuelans from doing business outside of the country, beyond the extensive taxes placed upon all international business, in addition to the massive inflation that has essentially destroyed the very concept of international trade for Venezuelans. As such, trading via Bitcoin and as an extension through rare Pepes representing Bitcoins and vice versa is often the only way for the average Venezuelan citizen to make enough money to even support themselves enough to avoid starvation. While many, if not most, Venezuelans in the current economic climate subsist off a government stipend of approximately $9 a month, many of whom were previously middle-class citizens thrust into breadlines and extreme poverty as the corruption and ultimate recourse of all socialist governments begins to become unavoidable, those who utilize Bitcoin to trade internationally via the farcical trading of these images of cartoon frogs can actually trade real goods and services and are able to make an upwards of $1,200 a day, according to an anonymous insider report to Reason. As such, while on the surface, and certainly why I read the headline, it seems quite funny to laugh at the fact that rare Pepes are being used as an actual currency. And it's certainly what made me decide to make this video, because the headline is very tonally misleading. When you look at the state of the people of Venezuela and the reality of this absurd notion, it changes from funny to sinister. So while I'm absolutely no expert on Venezuelan politics, I'm the antithesis of that. This is a layperson's take as such, but after reading this article and knowing some about the socialism hellhole that the nation had become, I decided to look into it further. And folks, to say I didn't have an emotional response to the suffering of these people under a socialist dictatorship of the ultra-rich suckling off the teat of the starving mothers and the ultra-poor that they will always seek to dominate, as they always have, as communists always will seek to dominate. It would be a lie on my part. And as I said, while I knew Venezuela was in a sad place, I really didn't know the extent of it. So this is going to make me sound like a bit of a gay, but I have a very hard time looking at stuff like this. Hearing stories of people not only roaming the streets in search of dogs, cats, rats, pigeons, anything, in order just to avoid starvation. To see the stories of men and women whose families have been brutally murdered because there is no police protection. Meanwhile, the police blockade the bread lines to take the lion's share for themselves. To see how people are forced to ration water and electricity, to stand in line overnight just for a chance to bring home a pound of flour for their children. This is socialism, friends. This is what we're looking at. This is the ultimate outcome of any socialist, communist, or Marxist ideology. This is it. Breadlines, rampant poverty, violence and crime, starvation, desperation, and depression. This is communism. It's not just an economic thing. So, why is Venezuela where it is? Well, Hugo Chavez, who took control in 1998 after 2 previous failed coups, started increasingly implementing socialist policies, including the government takeover of most forms of business, most of all the oil industry. Venezuela has the greatest wealth of natural oil resources in the world, far greater than Saudi Arabia, and as such, Chavez sought to maximize the production and sale of oil while raising taxes and regulations on the production of other goods for the sake of supposedly making products cheaper and more stable so that all citizens could afford the same goods. Sounds like a great little socialist utopia, right? Except, what the people of Venezuela likely at large didn't know is that the prices of these goods were being controlled by the government by essentially making it impossible for natives to produce any goods outside of oil. By that I mean this. I mean that by regulating the prices of goods to be very affordable for all people from all different backgrounds, the effect of that, or the outcome of that, means that artificially lowering those prices of goods is that very few nationally based companies will be able to produce goods that will be able to stay in business. Oil, meanwhile, provided the government with more funds to maintain its socialist programs, such as universal health care, and again, influence over the price of goods. Unfortunately, the second that the price of oil decreased from over $100 a barrel, the entire Venezuelan economy based upon it collapsed. It became immediately apparent that since the rise of Chavez and his self-appointed successor Nicolas Maduro, all of Venezuela's natural verdancy and fertile land, fruitful for the creation of food, had become barren. Through a lack of upkeep by virtue of the systematic government takeover and destruction of non-oil-based industries in the country, which had become essentially unsustainable. And in the wake of the devaluation of oil, the value of the bolivar crashed. Compounded with a drought in 2016, which caused a monumental water shortage and also brownouts, as well as total government-enforced blackouts by virtue of the fact that much of the nation's power is hydro-based. The state of the nation, particularly in the capital of Caracas, began to rapidly deteriorate. Venezuela was spending massive amounts of money on social programs, and when the oil drum bottom fell out, all of those massive socialist programs and the insurmountable debt created by Chavez had destroyed the nation's industry to focus exclusively on oil production, and as such left the Venezuelan people suddenly empty-handed. Following Chavez's death, Nicolas Maduro, Chavez's handpicked successor, who apparently 70% if not more of Venezuelans have expressed great displeasure to be nice, has stacked the courts with judges to support his rule while he bolsters his military that steals from the poor, in typical socialist dictator fashion. He has also gone out and accused all of the nation's problems on, you guessed it, the United States. Yes, the evil US is the one keeping Venezuela down because capitalism! Look, the problem is this. Chavez based the entire nation's economy on the high price of oil during the Bush years, and that worked for a time, true. But that time is over, and Chavez and subsequently Maduro have destroyed all native Venezuelan industry, pretty much, to the point where it is now apparently illegal for bakeries to make freaking brownies because the need for bread is just that desperate. Yes, Maduro sent in the military to force bakeries to produce only bread, no cakes, no cupcakes, no donuts, no bien me sabe. Anyway, that's how bad the food shortage is. People are out in the streets not only eating wild animals, but breaking into the zoos to eat horses. That is the extent of the starvation of these people, and a perfect illustration of the ultra-rich with their posh stores and their fancy public parks or zoos or whatever, compared to the ultra-poor, who would much rather eat the zoo animals than look at them, because they are starving. So, back to bitcoins and the trading of rare Pepes. You know what you can do in Venezuela through Bitcoin? Well, you can buy freaking food from Walmart and Amazon without having to stand in bread lines with a backpack full of 10 pounds of cash for 10 plus hours, only to be left ultimately empty-handed when the policia raid it and there is nothing left for you to buy. The average citizen going online with their bank accounts full of Bolivar won't get access to eBay, for example, which requires an account full of at least some US currency. And considering the devaluation of the Bolivar, the average Venezuelan citizen won't be able to buy shit anywhere anyway, even if the government would allow you to import goods without any taxation. Conversely, Bitcoin Pepe trading allows Venezuelan people to trade internationally, be they using rare Pepes or not, in order to even feed themselves. The government is starving their citizens through the systemic destruction of the national industries and over-reliance on oil, ultimately causing massive inflation while the rich remain seemingly unaffected by the crisis, as the middle class and lower starve. However, those who trade Pepes online can afford food shipped from Miami through Amazon. It extends to medicine and even freaking toilet paper. One company has gotten a bit of attention from the press over TP, as in order to maintain compliance with the requirements of the state, including the provision of toilet paper on the job, found that their business was raided by the police after the toilet paper that they had actually fought hard to acquire had been taken home by all of their employees, leaving said business in violation of state requirements, according to this article from The Atlantic. As with many articles and reports coming out of Venezuela, you will find all sources to be anonymous, to avoid the wrath of the harsh, socialist, militaristic government. I hope you found everything I've said before at least passably amusing regarding the trading of Pepes, because I think I'm about to break your heart, or at least I'm going to re-break mine. According to Dr. Osledi Comejo, a surgeon in Caracas, the death of a baby is our daily bread. Death rates of infants has increased from 0.02% in 2012 to 2% in 2015. And while that might not sound like much, keep in mind that that is a 100% increase, while the death of mothers has gone up 5 times in the same period. Children with serious illnesses are left to die without treatment, as medicine is frequently unavailable. I read an article, and I will link it in the description, about a 3-year-old girl who almost died from a simple staph infection. Staph. Do you know how common staph is? You want to find out how common it is? Go to, I don't know, the science store, you buy a little petri dish, go to the bathroom, don't wash your hands, and put your finger on the petri dish. Within 5 days, you will see staph show up. That's how common this infection is. It's everywhere. Anyway, this little girl got a staph infection in her knee, and she almost died, and was only saved, at least in part, by another parent who gave up their own deceased child's antibiotics to help treat her. And look, I don't see any hard sources to support this story, but kill me if it didn't tug at every freaking heartstring, and I'm sure that was the point. Again though, let's not take it at face value. It's probably just an emotional fluff piece. But it did make me sad. Anyway, again, this is the country with the greatest oil reserves on the planet, yet this suffering, this destruction of human life is allowed to continue. You might say, Aiden, aren't you one of those libertarian ANCAP types? Why do you care so much about this? Well, friend, because I view human life as pretty high up there on the scale of importance, and think that all people should have an equal chance to succeed, or at least an equal chance to live, to try and succeed. Do you think these children have any chance to excel in life? To even really live? Many of them are going to die under these conditions, from preventable and curable diseases, and that happens all over the world. But this is in a country that just 5 years ago faced few, if any, of these same problems before the price of oil decreased. One industry in a socialist country one industry becoming less profitable caused this. And you want to know what makes me actually really sick? Despite the fact that all of us are only a Google search or two away from discovering the extent of the starvation, hunger, and general depressed poverty in Venezuela as a direct result of their socialist government, which has destroyed the economy through rampant inflation, control of all national businesses to the point where no major businesses outside of the state-run oil industry could properly operate, here we have the Young Turks from early in March implying that Venezuelans are potentially lying about their own starvation. So let's watch it together. Oh boy, I hope I don't get demonetized.
That is literally unbelievable. I don't believe it. So now let me explain what I believe and don't believe. The phenomenon is obviously real because of the people that are skipping meals and because they can't afford the third meal. And that tracks over the same period of time. And it is affecting a great number of people, and the economy is in ruins. All that is super real. 3/4 of respondents losing on average 19 pounds in just 1 year. They got to double check the numbers on that. That is the most, if it's true, if they double check it, an independent source does and it's true, it's stunning.
Oh, Odin, am I allowed to throw myself on the blade right now and ascend to Valhalla for being able to tolerate watching any of this? That would technically make me die in battle, right? For your honor? I think so. Chavez and Maduro destroyed the economy by decimating all Venezuelan industry beyond oil production, relocating other industries to be forced into importation, and then when oil drops even a few dollars, the entire economy collapses because the massive, bloated state has spent every dime on social programs. But let's get more realistic here, folks, more accurately because they spend every dime on themselves. And yet that's not the fault of socialism, Cenk. It's all oil's fault for not allowing a country to be self-sufficient enough.
But hold on. Look, there's a little bit of propaganda in there too. So let me explain. So I'm not defending Hugo Chavez and Maduro in Venezuela, especially Maduro. I think the economy is a mess. They should have planned better, etc. But they do a lot of propaganda against Venezuela because they're socialist. And so, no, socialism is the wrong way to go. Don't spend money on your own citizens. Now, when you do spend money on your own citizens, you still have to be careful and figure out what is a good long-term strategy.
That's right.
But Saudi Arabia has a lot less people than Venezuela does. And so, yeah, they didn't overspend, partly because the royalty keeps most of the money.
Yeah, and by the way,
well, Cenk, then why are fat baby buffaloes like you also so against stuff like the Dakota Access Pipeline and the Keystone XL? That would allow the US greater access to oil, wouldn't it? Why are you so for these oil states as long as they, quote, work? And the fact that this buffalo is apparently supporting Saudi Arabia as a successful state, well, that's hysterical.
No, I understand that, but let's continue to talk about the larger issues here. I have almost never seen an article about Venezuela in the West that didn't talk about, the socialism doesn't work. Socialism, though, the problem is socialism, right?
Yeah.
But no, that's not the real issue. The real issue is countries that have huge oil reserves, and by the way, Venezuela has the largest oil reserve in the world, which is amazing. Never build effective economies. You think the Gulf countries, whether it's Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Dubai, you name it, Qatar, whatever, no, they're all absolutely propped up by oil money, okay? And even Russia's a disaster now because the oil prices have gone down. That's part of the reason that they're lashing out and doing the Trump thing and yada yada, right?
Oh, you know what? Silly, stupid me. I got it. So oil is only wrong when it supports Trump. I gotcha. Got what you mean. That, you know what? Thank you for clarifying. That explains everything.
So that oil makes them rich and lazy. And so they get overly dependent on oil because it's so easy. It's so easy that you just drill, you get the money, and then you spend it, and a lot of times you overspend it. So the problem isn't socialism. They don't have that in the Gulf at all. The underlying problem is hooking your economy up to oil.
Oh, okay, I see. So the Venezuelan people are lazy. Gotcha there, Cenk. Yeah, I got you real well. That's why they're out in the streets killing dogs and pigeons to feed their children. Laziness. They're clearly just making all of this up.
I know, Cenk. Look, I'm not saying that it's, oh my God, the economy sucks. only because of the fact that they spent the money on their own citizens. No, it's a three-pronged issue, right? It's the over-reliance on oil. They put all their eggs in that basket. The over-reliance on imports and not producing anything in their own country, right? And then also the fact that they weren't as responsible and they didn't plan ahead with their money. I'm not saying don't spend that money on social programs. Of course, I love social programs. I think that it's important, especially when it comes to things like wealth and income inequality, equality. But I'm just saying that there are various issues here at play that led to rapid inflation and led to all these people being hungry.
Yes, Anna, and why did they do that? Maybe because they're a socialist nation where the government took over every goddamn business or made it impossible for any industry to survive under their system? This idiocy is incomprehensible, but this again, I should be prepared. I should never look at anything from the Young Turks without expecting this.
Now, at the same time, you take oil away from those Gulf countries and they will disappear into the desert. They have no other industry. It's just that there's very few people who live there, and the royalty, even when oil prices go down, are still billionaires. So there's the appearance of everything is fine. You stop they run out of oil reserves or gas reserves in those countries, they're gonna be into the wind, man. There's gonna be nothing left in those countries. They have no other industry. Why? Same problem as Venezuela. They hit the crack pipe and they hit the heroin too hard. Mm-hmm. They're hooked on it. Once you take it out, there's nothing left.
Oh, Cenk, there's very few people who live in Saudi Arabia, Well, Cenk, the population of Saudi Arabia, the great oil magnate you keep comparing to Venezuela, it is about 29 million people. Venezuela, on the other hand, has a massive, enormous population, totally towering over the population of Saudi Arabia, of, 30.5 million. Wow, what a great, vast disparity! Could it not also be, Cenk, that we don't hear much about the extensive poverty, human rights violations, and general horrific violence that occurs in Saudi Arabia because, one, they don't report any of that shit, and two, they're a Muslim nation and we're not allowed to criticize them. Specifically, you're not allowed to criticize them considering that, you get that little partnership with Al Jazeera funded by Qatar going on, Anyway, my point is, 5-10 years ago, Venezuela was pretty much a modern nation with a middle class that now has a massive disparity between the ultra-rich and the ultra-poor. There is no middle ground. As a byproduct, all of its socialist government. What do you think about that, Cenk? I despise the Young Turks so much, they make my blood boil. Ugh. So, let's just move on. While on the surface level, it is quite amusing that rare Pepes are being traded for real money in Venezuela. But when you look at the facts of the situation, the dire, depressed, and ultimate humanitarian crisis of the nation becomes quickly evident. This is the ultimate outcome of communism, socialism, and Marxism. This is what happens. Breadlines, abject poverty, the separation of the two classes, a tiny majority of the super rich, and a vast, vast majority of the ultra extremely impoverished. This is what happens when ensuring everyone can buy a cheap iPhone as the rich get richer off the backs of the people comes to its ultimate conclusion of destruction, as it always will, as it always has when we try pure socialist, communist, or Marxist systems. I weep for the people of Venezuela, and I hope that they're able to overthrow Maduro without the need of excessive violence, which may be possible if he loses the support of the military. Although, if it were up to me, I'd take him on a very, very special helicopter ride. Again, while in theory, this concept of trading memes is quite amusing, in practice it's actually quite horrifying as to what would lead people to have to trade memes for food. As such, let's all just take a moment to share a rare Pepe in solidarity with the Venezuelan people in hopes that they are able to overcome the socialist nightmare they currently occupy. If you enjoy this video, be sure to like and subscribe. I normally wouldn't say anything, but I guess I should because I haven't before. I don't like asking for money or taking money from anybody, but if you feel so inclined, I do have a Patreon now. I'm trying to think of things to include on it. I set it up for $100, which has been reached, so I'm kind of trying to think of new things. Actually, maybe I'll put up a poll or something. I don't know what I'll do to try and I'll just look at the comments to take some suggestions for things to offer. If I could play video games and people would find that interesting, I could do that, but honestly, I just said live streams I didn't have. I've already been on a couple of streams, so I'm not sure what people would be interested in. Just leave a comment if you have an idea for what you would like for my Patreon. I don't really have any plans for it, other than I'm just trying to get more stuff out to you guys. I'm so appreciative of my audience and how great you guys have been, so really just if you have an idea, go ahead and, I don't know, send me a message on Twitter or leave something in the comments to give me an idea of what you would like to see from Patreon in terms of rewards, because I have no freaking clue. I know everyone and their mother has made a video about this YouTube ad nonsense. I was never making any money off of YouTube. I'm pretty new to the game. I just saw a sudden drop. It just basically stopped going anywhere, so it wasn't enough for me to even notice it because it already wasn't fast enough. And I thought maybe I should make a statement about it, which is, at least for me, I'm in this for funsies. I want to just create entertaining content. I'm not in it to become super rich or whatever. I don't know what people's motives behind YouTube are, but this is just for me to be entertaining. That's why I put this at the very end. If you want to give me money, that's freaking cool. I super appreciate it. I'm gonna come up with some way to also thank my patrons. But yeah, I just wanted to point out that I had one because I don't think I'd made a statement before. Again, if you enjoyed this video, more than doing anything on Patreon, just like and subscribe. That's the greatest thing you can do, even with the YouTube ad bullshit. I'm Aiden Paladin, Altana Volt.